Hello, aka GK Fralin. You can call me Glenda. Down under. Remember doing this as a kid? Try being one once in a while. I got serious enough things to talk about tonight. Gotta be a kid for a minute. Is that a minute yet? Okay. I'll check you out when I get back. I'm going to be snipping and clipping with a lot of this stuff. Today hasn't been easy, and I've had false starts all day long. And then I go and I do something else to kind of get my mind off of it, settle down. Excuse me, I got some dirt on there. And I just come right back to this feeling. So, here we go again. This part's, I guess what's a little difficult for me is this is the point where we now have we have our diagnosis, and we have what we know. Well, we don't know what's ahead of us. We have an idea of what's ahead of us. And we have something to follow. We have a treatment schedule or whatever. Our medications, if we use oxygen, and if we do the pulmonary rehab. But they're going to want you to get exercise. Anyway. So I guess one of the things, I've been through this several times. It's one thing that's given me trouble. I've had pneumonia a couple times. I've just got over bronchitis. I think I've had it a couple times this winter, and I don't happen to run fevers like I used to. I do run them if they get really bad. And I think it's just it's just getting to me a little, but it's like I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to say anything wrong and get anybody wrong information. So I'm just going to go through a list from the COPD Foundation of things that are warning signs that you're having, that something is, that you might be getting what they call an acute exacerbation. What it just simply means that it's a rapid onset of symptoms. Okay, if you're wheezing a lot more than usual, if you do a lot of coughing, if you might be to where you cough a few times a day, but you're getting more of these really long breath stealing coughing fits, is what I'd call them. And if you're short of breath more than usual, everything's more than usual, because remember, we do have this disease. But we also are used to our own bodies, and we have to take that into consideration. Always think about your own body and what it's used to. You're not living off my disease. You see my disease. You are in your own place with yours. And that's something I can't stress enough. Okay, so continuing on. If you have a big increase in if you have an increase in the mucus that you're bringing up, especially if it starts changing color. Like if it's getting dark yellow, green, brown, red, bloody, we don't want that. You need to go talk to your doctor if those things happen. If your breathing is shallow and very rapid, and you have trouble catching your breath, if you're running a fever, if you're feeling confused and sleepy a lot of the time, you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain, and swelling in your feet or ankles and stuff, those are signs of fluid retention. And fluid retention in your ankles can also mean there's other parts of your body that are retaining fluid or gathering fluid and holding it. depending on what your particular causes are. Those are all things that you need to just keep track of. And if you have a sudden, or a quick change there or whatever, or you're just concerned, if you are just concerned, you feel your body's made a change that you're concerned about, call your doctor. Call and, or call his nurse, call somebody. And if anything else, let them get you in touch with someone who you can talk to or who can help you. If you feel that you are in trouble, you can call for rescue. Too many times people just in life, we think, oh, we can handle it, we can handle it, we can handle it. There's going to be times when you've got stuff like this, there's going to be times when things can get bad fairly quickly, and you may need to call for help. There was one day I was just feeling sick. Husband didn't want to go to, this was back in 2012. My husband didn't really want to go to work because he didn't think he should, because of the way I was feeling, but I wasn't running a fever. I just felt really bad, and I was coughing a lot, bringing up stuff, and I was like, go ahead and go to work. We'll have Delson come over, my grandson. He was maybe 12, something like that. I'd have to do the math. Right now, I don't want to do the math. It's not that big of a leap, but anyway, as the day progressed, I started getting worse. Well, I coughed up some blood. I called the doctor's office because it wasn't real bad yet, but I was coughing up blood, and I knew it was from my lungs. Called the doctor's office, and they said they wanted me to go to the hospital and get a CT scan, get a chest scan. So I called my husband at work for him to come home. Now, it's a 50-mile drive for him, one way, approximately. A little less maybe, but let's say 50 miles. And then by the time he'd get home, pick me up, and take me another 15 miles back to Beatrice, and whatever change from there, from the edge of Beatrice to the hospital. Anyway, that was the deal. And by the time he got home, I was running a very bad fever, and I was getting delirious. My grandson, thank goodness, he kept it together. He was a kid, and he kept it together. My husband tried to get me to the van. He pulled it up to the back door. He tried to get me into the van, and I could not stand up. I'm not a lightweight, wasn't then. And so my poor grandson, he was an ace. He ran to the front porch and got a folding chair, because we had a wraparound porch, and got a chair, brought it, and they sat me on it and called 911. And the rescue unit, I guess 2 of them showed up, the local and the one from Beatrice. They took me to the hospital. Well, it turned out I not only had pneumonia, but I also had an ileus. An ileus is when you've got a blockage in your bowel. And so anyway, it kind of went from there. The point is, don't just say this is not going to get... know your body, but it's going to take time to get to know when... So never be afraid to call and ask questions. It's pretty apparent when I'm coughing blood that, yeah, something's going on. But don't be afraid to call If things are concerning you, call and ask questions. I mean, this last time I got bronchitis, I knew darn good and well that I was sick. I also knew that I couldn't drive myself and that the weather was too bad for me to be out there on my own anyway. I was able to call my pulmonologist because my local doctor, well, actually the local is a physician's assistant anyway. Get to where you need to be. Get a hold of who you need to get a hold of. If you just need a prescription for an antibiotic, if it's something where they can tell you to go do an extra breathing treatment, whatever. It might not be as bad as you think, but it could be. So I don't want to scare anybody, but I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want, if you're taking care of somebody and you're concerned about where they're at, talk to somebody, call somebody. And call somebody who knows. I mean, you could call your next door neighbor and they won't know. Unless, well, depending on who they are, but more than likely they're not going to know how to, they're not going to know any more about it than you will. So, this is going to have to get really trimmed down again. Okay. Guys, it's hard for me to talk about, but it is so important to talk about. None of us like to remember those times when we felt like we were dying. And the one that I just told you about, I darn near did. And it's hard to talk about. It's important to talk about because I don't want you to get it wrong either. So, until your doctor says you're being too much of a hypochondriac, don't worry about it. And if he does, worry about him. Sorry. Ooh, I'm glad that part's done. There's going to be times it's not easy to talk about this stuff. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Of course it's going to get hard to talk about. Please do subscribe. There's a button right below. Subscribe, like, give me thumbs up. Unless you don't like me, then, well, don't. But anyway, I hope that you will share this so that others who may be needing a little support and a little camaraderie, knowing someone else is out there. My stars! See you tomorrow!